Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Meet Praneeth. So today we have Vignesh with us, who is a Senior Computational Biologist at MSKCC, which is a Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And he's going to tell his success story with EB-1. And if I'm not wrong, you got with EB-1B, right?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So the stage is all yours, Vignesh. If you don't mind, can you please introduce yourself and then we'll go through some questions so that the audience can cater to what your profile was and how you got to EB-1 last year.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Praneeth. This is a wonderful initiative. I wish I had this kind of networking or like this kind of resource when I was starting to apply, but this is definitely a wonderful initiative for so many people who are trying to apply for EB-1 in the EB-1 category, especially within science, researchers, and all of that. Congratulations on so many episodes, and very, very glad to be here in this episode to share my journey. My name is Vignesh Ravichandran. I'm a computational biologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I've been working there for almost 9 years now. My specialty is bioinformatics, cancer genetics, and testing-based prevention for cancer. I do a lot of coding and a bit of analytics as well, just to show the portfolio of the things that I do.
That's amazing. So I'm a computational biologist myself, so that would be a good one to showcase that how you got to EB-1. So why don't we start with a little bit about yourself, starting before coming to US, like what were you doing in India and how you planned your process of coming to United States, with what vision you had when you came here.
Right. So I again, as soon as I came out of 12th or like high school, I was like massively interested in going into electronics and communication or some kind of mechanical engineering based courses in different colleges. In fact, I applied for bachelor's in many colleges and got some acceptance, but none of them to my liking. There was one particular college, or my undergrad alma mater, Sastra University in Tanjore. I walked into the campus. There was something that pulled me into the campus. It was some kind of like a relation that was made to be, I guess. I had a wonderful 4 years of journey in my undergrad. Just to talk about the admission process, I was still looking for mechanical or mechatronics, but I happened to jump into this whole field of bioinformatics. The dean at the time, he was walking by through the admission process with everybody, and he was introducing this whole department, which was brand new at the time. At the university. It was at the inception. This was in 2008. And I was going through the whole admission process. He was suggesting this bioinformatics. It's a new department. If you like computer science, then there is also a mix of computer science and biology. This is like a very good alternative for people who don't want to be doctor or don't want to go into medicine, but still have interest in research and wanted to be in that campus. So I took bioinformatics. It was an accidental admission. I always say it's an accidental admission. But again, I didn't know that it was meant to be. That I've been with bioinformatics since 2008. This is almost 14 years now doing this. The first year was just regular courses, but the second and the third year, the department head kind of saw some interest in me with my programming skills and brought me into doing some kind of small projects, some kind of drug discovery, docking projects, modeling, and that kind of protein-based projects where it was more software or computational heavy. And that increased my interest towards biology. And that is how the whole bioinformatics was, like the foundation of it was laid in me. And eventually I finished 4 years of it. I got an admission in the University of Texas, El Paso. Again, the whole coming to America was at the point, everybody was writing GRE. Everybody wanted to go to America. It was some kind of a mob mentality. All of my friends, they were trying to apply and come to it was also kind of a status thing at that time. You have to write GRE, you have to get, what is your score? Everybody's so interested in what you did.
Right.
So again, all of what I did up until coming to the US was all, I just let things drive me. It was just the force of nature and universe, what was speaking to me. So I moved here in 2012 to Texas, El Paso. That was also a master's program, very tailored for bioinformatics. In fact, at the time, there was very few PSM, professional science masters, not just Master of Science, but PSM. courses that was offered. This was a mix of both engineering courses and management courses. That was given out in very few universities, with bioinformatics as one of the majors. So I happened to be in El Paso for that PSM course in bioinformatics. I did 2 or 3 semesters of it. I graduated. I got an internship at the University of Utah, a genetic epidemiology lab. I was very fortunate to learn a lot of the actual field, the real science there. Up until then, everything was just mostly theoretical and small project oriented. And even in India, right after I graduated, I didn't go into like job. Most of my friends went to like TCS or some kind of day jobs that they tried to find. As soon as I finished, I moved here, so I had 0 work experience. There's more story about finding an internship, finding a job. It was quite a process to even find a job right after your master's. Without, I mean, most of the people who watch the show will definitely know, right? Getting on to some kind of F1 OPT job and then finding an employer who is ready to sponsor H1B, and then somebody who wants to continue with you and sponsor green card. It's a journey. You have to convince your employer at every point of time to tell them that you're worthy enough to continue to stay in the country and in the field. So again, just like everybody who's watching, I went through the same process of it. But I was very, very fortunate to have good support system and networking from the beginning, which really helped me through all of this. I think I overshot the question, but
that's perfect. So I resonate a lot with your story because I also came here in 2012, and I came so I also got an admit in University of Texas, El Paso.
You did?
Yeah, I did. And I also got it in Indiana University. So my friend was already in Indiana University at that time. And I was not in touch with Venkatesh at that time with whether which university he was studying. I knew he was in US. So that's why I went for Indiana University, and very similar journey. Like I started my full time in 2015, just after graduating from master. So I think we are very, very close on how our journeys.
Right.
Yes. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about this PSM course. So like I did my MS in bioinformatics, right? So is it different from a regular MS, or how's it? What are
Yeah. So overall, I think I forget how many, but there are a certain number of credits that you have to have to graduate. So I think 1/3 or 3/4 of it would be from science, and about 1/4 of it would have management course. So this was a structure that they offered. You can also choose to take it as take it all fully biology or like science based. So it's only Master of Science and not PSM. I mean, after the first semester, I chose to switch it to MS, took all of the science courses because I knew that I was not going into management at that point. So it was an MS course after that. But the program, the design of the program was to offer a mix of both. In fact, particularly in Texas, the last decade or so, there is an increased these marriage of programs involving business and business courses that's offered all across the Texas Education Board from undergrad level, master's level. It's a beautiful thing that they're doing within Texas educational system to incorporate this management courses, because getting into the industry with these credits are very important, especially in El Paso, because it's also a minority college with a lot of, it was one of the border universities. Campus, most of the people came from across the border from Mexico for college. It was definitely a minority border town college, and it had a lot more to offer through these management courses.
Right. No, that's great, because I've never heard of this course, but if you get to the management side as well, it will help you build your profile a little bit better, because you can say that you have learned management credits as well. So that's amazing.
Exactly.
So let's and I think I probably we had a similar story of going through GRE, a TOEFL or IELTS and coming here, right? So how was your journey here? Like, how is your journey? Because you're still in US and you'll continue to be here. So how's the journey here? Like, when did you start your full time, and what were the achievements that you gathered throughout the time that helped you for EB-1?
Right. So So in my master's, the projects that I did, the work that I did during the master's program, helped me get an excellence in research award during my graduation, which was a department sponsored award in addition to the actual degree itself. They give out to very few people, or one or two people from the department across the board of science, the Department of Science, not just bioinformatics, at the master's level, which really motivated me to like continue to do this. And it was one of the foundational, or like the very first award, or like a laurel to the cap, which kind of formed a lot of this that came afterwards, that helped me prove to employers or other hiring managers that I'm able to do independent science. And I was able to do, I mean, at that point, I presented some posters at the New Mexico State University conference. Getting on to these kind of poster presentation, conference presentations, getting these departmental awards really helped from the beginning. And then once I got my full-time here at MSK in 2014, whatever the work that I did during my internship helped for that. I was working a little more independently at the internship level, putting together pipelines for one of the, I think this was also one of the novel algorithms that they were developing back in 2013, which was still at a very infant stage. They wanted somebody to, I mean, I wouldn't call it a pipeline, but it's more like a conveyor belt thing, like put like a Linux script, like a bash script, puts A process to B to process to C. That's how I learned most of for the lack of better word, software development. Most like a conveyor belt thing, A to go to B to C to that kind of thing. No checks and balance, none of that. But that kind of like the minimum experience to know what it takes to build something was a little more convincing for my hiring manager at MSK, to get me to get to talk to me and figure out what I could do, etc. Within MSK, first 2 years was a lot of learning genetics and DNA sequencing. Even although there were 6 years of education, none of the courses taught next-gen sequencing. It was still bare new at the research level. And then now every university is offering NGS courses, pilots, and this is that. But back then it was still a new novel idea. You had to go to Broad to attend a workshop to know what it was to learn or run GATK. It was not readily available everywhere. You have to pay a workshop fee to go to GATK and learn, go to Broad Institute and learn it. So it was very niche at the time. So I have had wonderful mentors as hiring managers who were able to guide me through it and trust me with the process. So that all of that worked. The first 2 years was that. The third year and the fourth year, again, with all of the support from the people that I work with, I was able to develop a whole tool called Pathoman, which curates germline cancer variants for their pathogenicity. Lot of the genetic Pathoman.
Oh, Pathoman. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So you have a publication for that, or
yes.
Is it? Oh, nice.
It's an open tool, or it's not an open source tool, but it's a public tool that's available for people, clinicians, researchers. Everybody uses this as one of their decision aiding tool, but it's not the solely deciding factor for genetic counseling. So it's a supporting tool in a lot of the clinical genetics setting, where people who come back with testing result from some company and they don't know what it means, they have to go to a doctor or a genetic counselor. So the tool really helps the genetic counselor talk to the doctor and the patient to figure out what is their lifetime risk for cancer, what are the mutations they have, what they can do in terms of prevention in the next generations to come, etc. So it was a very pivotal tool in at least clinical setting that worked well within MSK. And which also turned out, which also went out to be a first author paper for me, which is an amazing credit to add to the whole EB-1 process.
Wow. Yes. So that was, yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
That was my first author paper that really grounded some of the intentions of the research at that point.
Right. And that this was just 2 years after your start of full time.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And so this tool, so I know that MSKCC has a great pool of patients and data, right? So does it use the data from the patients in MSKCC, or it's like something that you use data from all the banks you can get?
Anybody can put their information in and get a result out of it. But more the specifically the tool was trained within from the patient's data that was available from MSK, and a lot of the clinical decision is involved for a research setting within MSK.
Wow, amazing. And so next question that we have is, what motivated you to apply for EB-1? Like a lot of people have different reasons. One is like it's faster, say like it's the fastest way to get to green card. But different people have different reasons. Like, so what was your motivation to go for EB-1?
Right. Well, actually, before that, the even motivation to even get a green card was different for me. So I got married in 2018. My wife moved here after the marriage in 2018. So in 2017, I really wanted to kickstart the whole green card process. EB2, I was specifically looking into EB2 because I was thinking, well, I don't have a PhD. I don't have a lot of papers. I'm not an independent researcher. I don't have postdoc experience. So I don't think I would ever qualify for EB1.
Yeah.
At that time, I had 4 papers. Pathoman didn't even come out back then, or it was still in publication, some kind of here and there. So I didn't have a lot of solid evidence to go on to apply for a green card in EB2. I mean, rather like nevertheless from EB1, but even for EB2, I felt like it's not enough. And I really wanted that green card process because this was still within the first 3 years of my H1B.
Right.
I was scared that everybody's going to tell me, well, you still have 3 more years of H1B. Why do we have to apply a green card for you? Because we might as well extend your H1B at that point. Which partly was true in my case. But what happened was within EB2, since it was my first job, when you apply for EB1, they take when you apply for a green card, they take the work experience that's frozen before you get hired to that company. So, for example, so I joined MSK in 2014. If they were to file an EB1, EB2, or whatever EB green card for me, even in 2017 or 2018, they would only use the credit that was accumulated till 2014, which means at that time, I did not have any papers. I did not have any experience. I had 6 months of internship experience. I didn't have any job experience from India that I could use here. So basically, I was still unfit even for EB2. But instead, what happened was, instead of going through the company lawyers and the company process, somebody suggested me that I could do NIW, National Interest Rate, EB2. So which worked out very well for my case because at that point I could take all of my credits, whatever I've worked so far, take it to outside counsel, and then I could apply for EB2. So that's what I did. In 2018, I applied for EB2 NIW. I got my green card in 2019. My wife got her EAD, H4 EAD in 2019 as well. This was all a lot of uncertainty that happened during that administration from 2016 to 2020. It was quite a process. I mean, all of that, I mean, from gathering paperwork, evidence was one side of it, but the uncertainty of getting a green card, getting an EAD, H1, H4, doesn't matter, whatever it is, the delays in that process, all of the pauses that happened, it was quite, it was quite a lot of emotional distress, I should say, at that point.
During the Trump administration, a lot of changes came to immigration and the processes were delayed a lot. So like, for example, H4 EADs were getting delayed by 7 months, 8 months. So yeah, it was a lot of hectic things going on at the same time. So,
oh my God.
And how much time did your EB2 NIW I-140 took to get adjudicated? Like for me, it was, I think, 5 or 6 months. Like how long was your process?
My EB2 NIW took about 8 months.
8 months. Yeah, I think, yes, similar time.
Sounds 8 months, 8 to 9 months. Yeah.
So
that's how.
Right. And once you got your EB2 and IW approved and your wife got your H4 EAD, so was that the point that, well, now let's focus on EB1, or how do you switch to EB1 later?
So EB1 was an interesting process again, because in by the end of my 6 years of H1B, I really wanted to get on with the next EB, like the move on with the next stage of it. So EB1, what happened was I was trying to move things for my wife for her H4 EAD. She was trying to switch jobs and she wanted a little more freedom for it. And this whole the delay in the H1 and the H4 took a lot of time. So which meant that she had to take a break from work every 3 years for about 3 months. The process, like the timeline it took for so I mean, let me rephrase it. At every renewal of H1, only H4 can go in together. So once H1 is approved, H4 takes another month or so. They didn't approve H1 and H4 concurrently. And once H4 was approved, they approved the H4 EAD. And the EAD approval took about 8 months, or some cases 10 months or so. Which means if within the 3 years period of approval, my wife had to like pause her employment for like 10 months or like 8 months because her EAD was delayed. She couldn't get one. Hers lapsed in June, and then she wouldn't have EAD to resume work again. So that was a big issue, which is like a trickle effect of whatever Trump administration did. And then the pandemic happened. There was a lot of these uncertainties and delays, which we didn't want to go through over and over, because at that point, getting a green card was not a big thing for me, as long as both of us could find jobs and work. That was the main intention for applying green card. But this whole H4 EAD was a big deciding factor for us to say, well, no, we're not going to do this EB2 because this is going to take forever. So we had to like figure this EB1. That was the only way out of this. So EB1B to get out of this.
So that makes sense. Like after all these hurdles, you want to switch to something which is concrete and will give you all the freedom to work as you like and to also explore as you like, right? So what is your, can you give an overview of your profile before filing EB1? Like let's say how many publications you had, citations, or other criteria that you were going to target.
Right. So this is after I got my EB2. At that point, so when I was starting to approach the company lawyer with this, because EB1 was, at that point, I was fine with it, because they were, EB1B didn't take a lot of the previous work credit and all of that. EB2 was the one that required this because they had to file LCA. Right. The whole labor certification needed this experience, but for EB1, that was not a process. So EB1, my company was readily was okay to sponsor. At that time, I'd worked for about I want to say 7 years with MSK, 7.5.
So 2021, they filed.
2020, right? Yes. 2021, yes. The middle of 2021, I started this process, or like the end of 2021, I started this process. Since I had done a lot of the groundwork before for EB2, it was kind of easy for me to get on with the process. I had a lot of the contacts from whom I could get recommendation letters. At that time, so I can proudly say that now I had a kind of diverse portfolio to present. I had one first author paper, a couple second author papers, all of these from Nature Genetics or JAMA or some of these high reputed journals. So which is really added value to it, number one. And I had good recommendation letters from within MSK, outside MSK, and across the country, so across the globe. I got somebody from Paris Research Institute. I got somebody from India. I got a letter from somebody from UK. So some of those diverse letters helped. The number, I always went in thinking I need at least 7 letters or like 10 letters, because EB2, I was asked to produce 12 letters of recommendation.
Wow. EB2 and IW?
EB to NIW, I produced 12 letters of recommendation, and 3 from within the institute and 9 from outside. And I had to reach out to people who I've not worked with, but who works in the same field, to connect with them, to showcase my work. And then it was a lot of groundwork, which again worked out. Since I'd done that, it was easier this time. I did only like 4 or 5 letters this time, which is little more than what they recommended, but I still wanted to have more letters because I didn't want that to be one of the cases. And also, I had reviewed a lot of papers, and I was on the editorial board of one of the online journals. So that helped. So being on reviewing peer manuscripts, being on editorial board, having first author paper, letters of recommendation, and the resume and the skill set itself with different publications and the work itself, all of these added to a very rounded profile. And some of these cases, when you have multiple um, contributing factors, even as little as it is, you don't need to worry about the number of publication or like number of letters, as long as you can touch a little bit of it. Again, EB-1 it's not like a Nobel Prize. It's not the end of your research career, but just to showcase that you are in the right path, doing greater things to contribute to the field and in turn to the country. I think that's what the lawyers are looking for, that this candidate has potential. Given we allow them to stay in this country with a permanent residence, what can they do to this country, or what can they contribute to the field? That's all I think they're looking for. And having a little bit of that across multiple factors helped in my case.
Exactly. No, I think you're right, because EB-1 is a two-step process. First is your quantitative measure of how many criteria you get qualified for. For example, in your case, you had papers, and I assume you had 6 or 7 papers at the time of filing, or more?
At the time of filing, I had about 12
papers.
13 papers.
How many citations do you have at that time?
When I filed, I had about 920 or 930 citations.
That itself shows that your papers are very well cited. They are very well used in the field, right? And then you had recommendation letters. Then you were on the editorial board. So I think, and then what the other part is qualitative. So when they're trying to figure out if you are in extraordinary capability, that kind of aligns really well, because your work is very well cited. You are working in cancer. Cancer is one of the most hot topic or widely studied topic across US, right? So I think that was really, you had an amazing profile for EB-1 according to the criteria and stuff.
Right.
Amazing. So so the next question I have is evidence. So I think a lot of people know which criteria they can target, but they lack the strength to find evidence that will fit or will align with the criteria. So for example, when you have publications, so you will have, let's say, 10 publications, but what will be the evidence that will go to support that criteria? For example, you will download full-length PDFs, or you will download the altmetric scores, Plumx scores and stuff. So how did you got all the evidence for each of these criteria that you targeted?
Evidence for the publications, again, Google Scholar did all of the work. And Scopus also kind of iterates this, indexes this information. And being on ORCID, having an ORCID ID helps. And if you review for some journal, they use your ORCID ID to link to the profile saying, well, you reviewed X number of papers anonymously, like peer-reviewed manuscripts, etc. So that helps. And in general, I think everybody has to start indexing themselves on PubMed to see what shows up. I mean, it doesn't matter full-length articles, but even conference abstracts, they do add value. They publish them as a small note, especially JCO, ASCO, AACR, Cancer Discovery. They all publish even small report of the abstract in their in their journal, so online version. So those all add to the value of the profile. I think those are the metrics.
Right. And in terms of like peer review, did you get the acknowledgement letters from the editors, or was it just the ORCID profile you were showing?
So for reviewing, I did 2. One was to get an official letter from the editorial board of the journal saying, I reviewed this because, or they reached out to me to review this paper because they considered my skill or my whatever as one of the much needed in the field, and it was important to get somebody like this to review papers like this. That was one. That is just for the reviewers. And to be on the editorial board, again, all of this happened to be through LinkedIn. This a journal called Archives and Breast Cancer, where they reached out to me through LinkedIn because I kept updating my LinkedIn with the publications that I did, skills and all of that. So they reached out to me saying, well, you're a computational biologist. We have this new upcoming journal that we want to start, like it's an online journal. We want to get more people to publish computational biology papers, related papers. So would you be on this? Would you be like an expert on this? So that's how they reached out to me. So from their journal, I got a letter saying we reached out to Vignesh to be on this editorial board because of the expertise that he possesses. So those are the language that you have to get in the letters. Right.
So the other question that a lot of people ask is when I'm speaking to them or helping them, they said how we can get to these peer reviews. Let's say I have published papers and I have masters. I'm working in a let's say in a industry, or let's say in a academic institution. But how do I reach out to these editors? Like everyone tries to reach out to them, but very few people get responses, right? So how you like one good thing happened is you were reached out by someone on the editorial board to help with the board, but how you get to other peer reviews? Like, did you get help from your peers, or is it like you reached out to people and you got help? So if you can explain.
Right. It's a mix of all of those. When I wanted to, for the reason why I wanted to get into review was because of green card, like having this in your green card profile application. But before that, as soon as I joined my the job in MSK at 2014, the very first task I was given was from my manager to review a paper.
Oh, wow.
My boss got a paper that he was asked to review for a journal.
Right.
And then he sent it to me. Could you review this for me? So I went through the paper. I didn't know what reviewing a paper was. Although in a seminar class in masters, they tell you how to review a journal, right? How to review a paper or something. Right. It was completely different from what you actually do in the setting. Exactly. And then I just sent him a paragraph of why I like the paper. And he was like, no, this is not how you do it. He sat me down. He told me, this is exactly the format of how you should review a paper. This is the language you should use. You have to write bullet points. You have to address this. You have to tell them that what you understood from the paper, so they don't think that you're just talking out of context, right? So it was a process, and my boss sat me down and taught me this. I don't know why he did it, but after that, he started sending some of these papers to me, which was actually how it started. He would delegate some of the reviewing to me that he got from the journal. Wow. And then I write a review. We would discuss that paper in the lab, and then he would send the reviews back to the journal saying, accept this paper or don't, whatever it is, about the decision on the manuscript. Wow. Once this was happening, I went and said, well, I'm trying to apply for green card, and reviewing a manuscript is one of the criteria. Right. How can I get credit for the work that I did when you asked me to review this paper? Right. He said, well, I can, in my recommendation letter, I can write that you reviewed papers on my behalf for journals. Wow. So that was one thing he did. Right. For the credits was not directly for, at least for EB-2, it was not directly from the journal, right. But my boss wrote the recommend letter saying, well, he did this on my behalf. I asked him to do this because I consider him an expert in the field because he did this. Because my boss was a geneticist, I'm a bioinformatician. So although we kind of overlap in some of the peers, the terminology was different. He was a geneticist, considering a bioinformatician, a specialist in that field. So that's how it worked. And also, he wrote to the journal saying, well, my associate from my lab co-reviewed this paper. Would you be able to give a letter of support to this person? Right. But the journal at that time said, well, they cannot, because he was not a direct invitee to review this paper, so they wouldn't do it. But right. Instead, the suggestion I got from my boss was to register yourself in these journals as reviewers. Okay. And then tell them that you're review manuscripts for them. Right. So I basically opened an account at ASCO, like JCO, CCR, like a whole bunch of journals where I was one of the, I published a paper where I was one of the authors in a paper that got published in that journal.
Okay.
So I'm already in their system as an author. And within the system, now I'm re-registering myself as a reviewer. So they put one and one together. So this person has published a paper with us, which means they know what they're doing. It's a peer-reviewed journal, and this author is now interested to review some other papers within the same field for us. So that's how it started. None of the high-impact ones call me because they always want MDs or scientists to do it. But eventually, there's, I think, briefings in bioinformatics from Oxford Journal, Frontiers in Genetics from Frontiers. So those were some tool development papers. They started reaching out to me saying, well, you're a bioinformatician. Somebody published a tool, do you want to review it? Right. So it's like a snowball effect, one started to another. You cannot expect 14 or like 15 impact journal paper to like reach out to like a bioinformatician, but even 2 or 3 or whatever it is, as long as you're one of the main authors in the paper, they would reach out to you saying, again, this doesn't happen very frequently, this once a year or like twice a year. Right. It's a good year, for example. And especially after COVID, so many COVID papers came.
Yeah, true.
So many COVID papers came and everybody wanted to review some paper because practically half the world was publishing and the rest of the half the world was reviewing it. That's all it was. So it really kicked off pandemic, thanks to pandemic, I guess, but it worked out in that setting. So for somebody who's looking to review journals, I think reach out to your bosses or somebody within your team. Anybody with a PhD and published publishing record will be asked to review a paper from journals. True. So if they don't want to do it, they can always use you to review for them and then write a letter for you. Or the other thing is they can directly send a message to the editor of that journal saying, I don't have time to review this paper. Instead, I recommend my associate to do this. So you will get a direct invitation from the editorial board saying, can you review this? It doesn't work all the time. Yeah. But again, this whole referral thing within the system works. Those are the two. And third is register yourself on to all of these journals and open to you. And fourth is, again, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool.
Exactly.
It's such a powerful tool. It kind of feels silly to update your publications, scientific publications in LinkedIn because you think nobody's going to see. But actually people see. Exactly. If not for giving you a job, but at least for to figure out if you're an actual expert in the field, even for contracts, advisory boards, editorial boards, journals. A lot of people are looking for these kind of very special niche experts. And LinkedIn serves to be a good tool for that.
True. And I think I always tell this to people that LinkedIn is your best friend after Google because this is the place you can network with so many professionals in your niche or across niches as well. And you can build your network and you can just go out and say that, well, I have this much qualification or this is my expertise and I'm happy to review. And there might be some person who will come to that post and say, oh, yes, we have a match. Let's do it. Right. So I think that's a great point. And I know that you told that you are a editor in an online journal. So let's say if someone in the same field is looking to publish or looking to review, can they reach out to you?
Yes, they can. Again, I'm on the editorial board. I'm not an actual editor. So it goes through the same process. You can ask it's just like regular publication process. They submit their manuscript. The chief editor finds reviewers for the paper. They review it. It comes back. It's like that. And being on editorial boards are, at least from what I've seen, is you have to provide commentary on the field. You have to know what's happening in the field. Write commentaries for these manuscripts saying, well, it's going to change the field or it's something new to the field, or you have to write something about those manuscripts or like editions that's coming out. You can also put together a theme for a next issue that's going to come up or a special issue. Right. So they want these niche specialties. Everything is, for the lack of a better word, it's all social media. Yeah. They all want traction. They all want readers. Exactly. They all want funding. They all want good research coming to their journal. So it's just like Reader's Digest versus Nature. Like, what is the difference? Good articles. That's what they want.
Right. That makes sense. And how long it took you to file? So, for example, in my case, I started my I-140 process in April 2021, and the law firm was very slow, but they did a fantastic job. I can definitely say that. So it took me at least 6 months to file I-140 petition in premium processing. So how was your timeline in terms of
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I think I started around September. A lot of the delay from my side was a mix. I mean, law firms, yes, they always have delays. I mean, I saw that with EB2. EB2 took me about a year and a half long to get the profile ready.
Right.
And then it took 7 months or 8 months, like 8 to 9 months to get I-140. So it was a long endeavor to do this. But a lot of those lessons since I learned, and I kind of built the contacts. EB-1 was a little more easier. So I think from September, October, I think the first thing was to come up with a cover letter. Right? That's the whole drill to figure out if you're even worthy of all of this process. And then once they start putting together things in the cover letter, then you have to start providing evidence for this. Where is this? Where is that? Letter from this, letter from that, all of that. Reaching out to journals, reaching out to peers, getting recommendation letters and all of that. It took some time. And then and everybody has their own schedule. So you have to work with so many people's schedules and calendars and timeline. A lot of the iterative process was I write a draft, send it to the person who wants to write a recommendation letter. They will change it. I have to send that to the lawyers. They will make edits to it. It has to go back to the other person who writes a letter. It's a whole going back and forth for one letter, and then you have to do this for like whatever, how many letters you're trying to get. So it is, but again, it took about 7 to 8 months putting the letters together. After that, it was easier. I think the letters were the hard part for me at least, and I didn't have any high reward publications that were going to come out at that time. If they were in process, then I probably had to wait for it to come out. Then it'll add more value and all of that. But at that time, back for EB2, I was waiting for my Pathaman paper to come out. So that also kind of delayed the process. I was waiting for that one first author paper that was important. But for this, I already had one. I had a couple second author papers, so I didn't have a lot of publications to wait for. But I would anticipate somebody who's looking forward to a particular first author to be published, then you have to account for that time also.
Right. And did you file in premium processing, I-140?
I did. I did premium processing.
How much time it took to get your approval?
It took me 7 or 8 days.
Great. It was on 13th day for me. So I was like, oh, it's going.
Oh my God.
And when did you file your I-485? Like how long it took for your...
So my I-140 and 485 went concurrently together. And I think within a month or like a week after I got my I-140 approved, I sent my medical certificate as an addendum to the application. Because at that time, USCIS was calling for medical certificates. If you already have an I-140 approved and if you have a 485, don't wait for us to give, whatever that, RFE. Just submit it right away. They were asking for it. So I kind of took advantage of that, sent my green card letter, like the medical certificate, I think within like the next week of I-140 approval. So the I-140 got approved April 14th. And I got my approval, I think the first day of September. Yes, I got my approval September 1. So which is about May, June, July, August, September, 5.5 months. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, 4.5 months. That was a pretty quick timeline. With EB2, I was thinking about 20 years. I was waiting for this law to go in. This congressman is going to like remove the per country cap. This senator is going to remove this. I had so much hopes for that one particular law that got passed in Congress. Remember that eliminates the per country cap in 20.
HR 3648. if I'm not wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That 2019 and 2020, I was so hopeful. I was like enjoy saying, well, we're going to get a green card in probably 10 years. We know other people are waiting for 20 years, but we're going to get it in 10 years. It was so over the moon. And then the whole whatever pandemic happened, re-election, and that law. I don't even where that law went. I used to go to the government, like the Congress site, to
Right.
see how many people approved it. How many people approved it? Did it go through? Did it not go through? It was
Right.
quite. I was so anxious for that.
Yeah.
But EB-1, I did not even imagine 4 months you will actually see a green card. All of us were in tears to actually see the physical green card.
True, 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 true. So like I got it in April 2022, and so my wife couldn't apply at that time because she was in J1, so we need to have to waiver for that, and now she's also
Right.
waiting for her, so it's probably fingers crossed. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
so when you get your green card, I think the feeling is not for partying. The feeling is more of calmness, like, oh well, you're done. When you're done with the process, now you have to probably you have more
Absolutely.
freedom to do things. So that really makes sense.
It's definitely a calming process. It brought a lot of stability in us because
Yeah.
at the first 3 years of my H1 renewal, I think in 2018 or like 2019, again
Right.
in 2022, there were two pivotal moments we were thinking, well, it's going to take a lot of time for EAD to come for my wife or H4. At that time, even H4 was delayed massively.
Right.
They didn't allow concurrent driving, so my wife couldn't travel outside the country. She didn't have a job,
Right.
and it was a very dull period for her and everybody.
Yeah. Right.
And they even go see parents or like move out of the country. We were like, well, is it even worth being in America if you're going to be like this?
True.
There were two moments, especially in 2019 and 2021, we decided maybe we should just go back to India.
Right.
We were so close. I was reaching out to colleagues and networking in Indian companies to see if there is any job opening
Wow.
to do this. It was and we were very seriously considering moving back to India.
Right.
But after this, I was like, the day after I came to know that we got the green card, I walked out. So I was like, America, we have green card now.
True. I understand. I think a lot of us, especially from India, go through this moment where we try to think whether we should go back to India and just have a life there rather than just get stuck in this process of immigration. And I think that is one of the whole sole reason of starting this channel, to tell people that EB-1 is not an alien visa that you can't even get to, right? Because first of all, the myth of having a PhD is just floating around for so many years, which we want to bust and help people understand that it's a process. If you try to work towards it, you can get to it. So thank you so much for doing this. Like it's not many people accept they want to come to camera and talk about it. And I think when you come and talk about it, a lot of people get influenced and they get inspired, right? That they can also do it.
Right.
So it is very, very important. One last question would be, any advice you want to give to people from this field of yours and mine or other field? What should they do to get to EB-1? What would be the words of wisdom that you want to give to them?
Oh. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to give advice, but this is from my experience. I would say I took science more than a day job.
Makes sense.
I treated the work as something that was inspiring and very more than just a day job. That's what I would say. I mean, I did work late nights. I did do this not because the work demanded it, because there was a curiosity to know what is the answer for this, what is the answer for that. So that drive and that passion was what brought me throughout all of this, and that is what helped me get publications, do better at work, get find my own independent niche and find expertise. So it built a lot of confidence in me. So I mean, this is probably not an advice a lot of people would like, a mindset a lot of people would have or know, but maybe not treat your job as just a 9 to 5 job, but find a job that is more driving and has passion. Once you have passion towards that, rest of the things would fall in place. You will find something that will spark. You'll get an idea becomes a project, and project becomes a publication. It's a process. It will help you in a PhD. It'll help you with an EB-1 or no. It doesn't matter. that passion helped a lot. And don't worry about PhD. I mean, yes, I had a lot of questions about it myself. After 2 years of work, I applied for PhD because I thought PhD was the only thing that's going to take me out of this. And I mean, I'm finishing 9 years of work now. I did not have, I don't have any regrets of not doing a PhD so far, at least for a green card. Maybe PhD helps you in career industries after that. There is a value for PhD, but I don't think that value is directly influencing your chances of getting a green card in EB-1. That's how I would say it. PhD is not necessity. 10 years of experience or like 5 years of experience, the knowledge that you gain has no comparative value with anything else. The values of your experience has a lot of potential. I think that should play to your strength. In any profile, even for applying for jobs, even for green card, anything for that matter, the experience has a lot of potential. Passion drives all of this. And find good networks and support system. Not everything is going to be easy. It's going to be very, very hard. You can question a lot of your existence in this country. Even without a green card, there is a lot of questions of existence in this country. There's gun violence, racism. There's always questions of concern. For anything and everything, find a good support system, good network.
People to fall back on.
Exactly. I think those are the three things that helped me really in the process, and that's what I would say. I would recommend people to passion, support system, and what's the third one? I forgot. But all of that. No PhD.
No, that's a great advice, and I think the myths have to be busted, because that would help a lot of people come out of that bubble and start applying and start thinking about EB-1 in general. And as you said, I think finding a job with passion and integrity is more important, because that itself would thrive you and take you to that milestone where you want to get. And let's say if EB-1 even not is in the let's say in your books, but at least that will help you drive you professionally and also become better at what you do, right? So I think that's a great advice. And I think the final question that I ask everyone at the end of this video chat is, what are your plans after getting a green card? Like a lot of people, like when we are planning towards applying for green card, we have these things like, well, we'll travel to India more frequently, or we'll explore Mexico, or we'll go to Canada, or do a lot of probably switch to a different job, or do a business or something. So what's your plan? What is your plan after getting a green card?
All of the ones that you said actually something that I should also do. Travel more. Again, we're humans, right? We want what's next. Now that I have a green card, I'm thinking maybe in 5 years I can get my citizenship, and then I have a passport with which I can travel more. I don't have to go through this visa, and so that's definitely there. In terms of job, there's a little more freedom. I think that's what it is. The freedom to choose was lacking. I think with the fact that knowing that there is a freedom to choose and be or do whatever you want, makes America feel a little more homely.
Exactly.
Right? And back in India, you don't care about anything. There's a good support system, good money, good whatever it is. You can do whatever you want. But here with this, there is a little more calm and the freedom. And then with that, I don't know. I mean, a lot of things so far has always been the force of nature for me. Whatever happened in its own right way. Right. I'm hoping to see what the next phase of it is for me.
I completely agree. And I think different people have different goals, and they should go after them. And that's how your life proceeds, and you go after it, right? So thank you so much, Vignesh, for coming to the channel and sharing your story. I'm pretty sure this story will inspire a lot of people, specifically from the field of bioinformatics, who have masters and who have been working in the field for a long time, but they're not aware of how they can plan their journey for EB-1. So once again, thank you so much. And I think people will reach out to me to reach out to you. So I'll share your LinkedIn profile, and I hope you're okay answering some questions if someone.
Definitely. Happy to help. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And